She had just got off work and ran into a disabled man moving some stuff, and out of kindness she went over to help. But as soon as she got the couch into the car, the man dropped his disguise and knocked her out. He cut off her dress, tossed it onto the street, and then walked away. A week later, someone found her body in the river. Before this, 4 young, full-figured women had already been killed. Strangely, none of these girls had been sexually assaulted or abused while alive. The killers starved them for a few days before killing them, then skinned the bodies and dumped them in the wilderness. All 4 victims had their skin removed, so the police nicknamed the killer Buffalo Bill. The case was quickly handed over to the FBI, with Jack, head of behavioral analysis, in charge. But months went by with no real progress. Under public pressure, Jack made a risky move. He brought in an intern skilled in criminal psychology, Clarice, and asked her to go to the asylum to profile Hannibal. The reason Jack did this was to lower Hannibal's mental defenses. As everyone knew before his arrest, Hannibal was a top-notch psychologist. Even the smallest clue could let him accurately profile a killer's appearance and behavior with his sharp insight and expertise. So Jack was sure Hannibal might be the breakthrough in this case. Clarice knew how terrifying Hannibal was, but to prove herself, she decided to take the assignment. Before she started, Jack warned her not to reveal any personal info to Hannibal. Clarice understood it was for her own safety and agreed. Soon, Clarice arrived at the asylum where Hannibal was held, and with the warden, she went to the deepest part of the basement cells. The warden said security was tight because a few years back, due to a slip-up, Hannibal almost ate a nurse. He deliberately went into gruesome detail, trying to scare Clarice away. But Clarice wasn't scared. She insisted on a private meeting with Hannibal, saying it was necessary for an accurate profile. The warden was annoyed but had no choice but to leave. Guided by the attending doctor, Clarice finally met the legendary Hannibal. Unlike the other crazed patients, Hannibal was calm and composed, which made Clarice lower her guard a bit. Hannibal asked to see her ID, and seeing it was about to expire, he realized she was an intern. Clarice knew that lying to someone like him was pointless, so she admitted it and asked him questions as a student. Her honesty pleased Hannibal, and he then gestured for her to sit. This small gesture flipped the dynamic, making it seem like Clarice was the one being interrogated. Through the little hole in the glass, he smelled her cheap perfume and mocked her humble background. But Clarice didn't get angry. Instead, she said to Hannibal, "Since you're so good at analyzing others, why not analyze yourself?" That sentence enraged Hannibal, and his elegance vanished, revealing his cannibalistic ferocity.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Only then did Clarice truly realize how terrifying Hannibal was. The carefully planned profiling attempt ended in failure. As she passed the next cell, the patient Mason suddenly went berserk, startling her. Hannibal hated rude people, so to apologize, he promised it wouldn't happen again. He also gave her a clue, to look for his old patient Melfet. After leaving the asylum, Clarice's mental defenses completely collapsed. Hannibal's taunts hit her deepest vulnerability, the father she lost in the line of duty. But his actions had actually been protecting her, almost like a father. All of it was part of Hannibal's carefully laid psychological trap. He had already seen her weakness and deliberately shattered her mental defenses. Clarice quickly composed herself and started investigating the Melfet Hannibal mentioned. Just then, Jack called to say Mason had died. Clarice was stunned, though he clearly knew what had happened. Hannibal had promised yesterday that Mason wouldn't bother her again, and he actually kept his word. After a brief shock, Clarice told Jack what she had discovered. Melfet had a self-storage unit, but Hannibal was paying the rent. Noticing this, Clarice rushed there that night. The moment she opened the door, she saw the storage full of female mannequins. In a corner, she even found a head preserved in formaldehyde. To identify the head, Clarice went back to Hannibal. Hannibal said the head belonged to Melfet, a man who liked wearing women's clothes. As for who killed Melfet, Hannibal didn't say a word. Having piqued Clarice's curiosity, Hannibal made a request. If they gave him a cell with a view, he'd help catch Buffalo Bill. Meanwhile, Buffalo Bill kept killing. He disguised himself as a mover with a hurt arm, preying on girls' kindness. Once he confirmed her skin was suitable for a human skin coat, he happily took her away. Soon, another skinned female body was found at the bottom of a river in West Virginia. Unlike the other victims, this one had been deliberately sunk, only surfacing a week later. Clearly, Buffalo Bill was hiding something. During the autopsy, Clarice found an insect egg in the victim's mouth. An entomologist identified it as an Asian moth pupa called a death's head hawk moth, seemingly Buffalo Bill's pet. This clue seemed important, but it sent the case back into a deadlock. Just when everyone was stuck, the case took a turn. The girl Buffalo Bill kidnapped turned out to be a senator's daughter, sparking high-level attention. Under huge pressure, the FBI reluctantly agreed to Hannibal's proposal. Clarice went back to the asylum, asking for a private meeting with Hannibal, but the warden blocked her. Clarice pressured him, saying she was verifying with her superiors, and finally got the meeting. Once inside, she got straight to the point. If he helped catch Buffalo Bill, not only could he get a cell with a view, he could even walk on the beach with guards. Hannibal seemed pleased and then provided a new lead. There are only 3 hospitals in the US that perform gender reassignment surgery. Checking who applied and was rejected would quickly reveal who Buffalo Bill really is. The asylum warden hid in the shadows and eavesdropped on their crucial conversation. As soon as Starling left, the warden tied up Hannibal and claimed that all of Starling's promises were lies. The warden then offered even more tempting terms, and Hannibal pretended to agree. The arrogant warden thought he had it all in the bag and didn't even notice his pen had fallen inside the cell. Hannibal was then escorted by the police to Tennessee to meet with the senator. Facing the senator's pleas, Hannibal deliberately got Buffalo Bill's real name wrong. But the other clues were real. He was actually stalling so Starling could investigate on her own. To make the investigation easier, Hannibal was temporarily held on the courthouse's top floor. Checking the list of gender reassignment applicants would take time, and the senator's daughter was in immediate danger. In a pinch, Starling had no choice but to turn to Hannibal again. To Starling's surprise, Hannibal wasn't angry about the earlier deception. He had long seen through the FBI's tricks and expected Starling to come to him. His real goal was never to get a better prison. It was to heal Starling's childhood trauma. To get critical clues about Buffalo Bill, Starling had to trade her own painful past. After her father died, she was sent to live with her cousins. There she witnessed lambs being slaughtered. She tried to save the screaming lambs but failed. That experience became a lifelong pain. The slaughtered lambs mirrored her own helplessness. For years she would wake in the middle of the night, the screams of lambs echoing in her ears. After this soul-deep psychological exchange, Hannibal was ready to reveal Buffalo Bill's real name. Then the warden suddenly appeared. Not wanting Starling to get all the credit, he ordered the guards to forcibly take her away. Before she left, Hannibal hinted that she would have to rely on her own smarts to solve the case and truly overcome her childhood trauma. After Starling left, Hannibal immediately began his escape plan. He slowly spit out a metal pen holder from his mouth, the part of the pen the warden had dropped. Hannibal then hid the pen clip in his palm and outwardly cooperated, as he was handcuffed. But as soon as the guards left, he used the tiny pen clip to unlock his handcuffs. Taking advantage of the dinner delivery, Hannibal suddenly attacked and easily took down 2 guards. Afterwards, he started enjoying music, clearly pleased with his escape plan. Soon, guards on the first floor heard gunshots from the top floor and everyone went on high alert. By the time they arrived, Hannibal was already gone. They saw one guard's belly slit and hung on a cage, while another guard on the floor had his face slashed. They thought the guard was still alive and rushed him onto a stretcher to the hospital. But as the elevator went down, blood suddenly seeped from the ceiling. The seasoned sheriff immediately realized something was off. Hannibal was likely hiding in the elevator ceiling. After sending the guard onto the ambulance, they immediately surrounded the elevator. But when they opened the ceiling hatch, everyone was stunned. Inside lay the sheriff with his face peeled off, and the one just loaded onto the ambulance was Hannibal in disguise. He wore the sheriff's clothes and face, pulling off a flawless escape right before everyone's eyes. Upon hearing Hannibal had escaped, Starling stayed calm. She needed to analyze the case quickly and rescue the senator's daughter. She suddenly remembered Hannibal's principle of simplicity. When multiple hypotheses exist, choose the one with the fewest assumptions. Based on the dumping sites, Starling deduced that Buffalo Bill's first victim was probably someone he knew, and he submerged the body to delay discovery and make it easier to destroy evidence. The second reason was a twisted sense of guilt. He sank the body as a sort of offering. Besides, targeting someone familiar made it easier and less suspicious. Following this logic, Starling went straight to the first victim's home to search. In the victim's room, she found tons of sewing tools. Clearly, the victim was a tailor. Then in the wardrobe, she found a dress sewn with a diamond pattern. Starling instantly realized the skin removed from this victim matched the diamond shape. Putting it all together, Starling concluded Buffalo Bill knew the victim and was also skilled in sewing. He skinned the victim to make a female human skin suit to complete his twisted transformation fantasy. Starling immediately contacted Jack to share her theory, but Jack said they had already found a suspect from the gender clinic list who matched all the traits. The only mismatch was the name. Everything else matched Hannibal's clues. Jack was leading the SWAT team to the suspect's house, not knowing they had already walked into Hannibal's trap. When they broke in, there was no one. Jack immediately realized Starling was in danger. Meanwhile, Starling kept following the clues and found the first victim's friend. From her, she learned the victim had once interviewed an old woman named Mrs. Lippman. Starling rushed to Mrs. Lippman's house, never expecting to unexpectedly encounter the real Buffalo Bill. It wasn't until she saw a death's head moth on the sewing thread that she instantly went on alert. The seemingly ordinary man in front of her was the serial killer. Buffalo Bill realized he'd been exposed and immediately turned to run. Starling chased him to the basement and finally found the senator's daughter, Catherine, imprisoned at the bottom of a pit. But she couldn't relax yet. Only by taking down Buffalo Bill could they truly be safe. Starling calmed Catherine and told her to stay put, then continued tracking Buffalo Bill. Following the sounds, Starling reached a body processing room. Buffalo Bill suddenly turned off the lights, plunging the room into darkness. He watched Starling in the dark, enjoying toying with his prey. After he was done, he raised his gun to shoot Starling. But the sound of him pulling the trigger let Starling instantly locate him. A gunshot later, Buffalo Bill was dead, killed by Starling. The months-long serial killings finally ended, and Starling achieved her own redemption. She was finally free from her childhood trauma, no longer the little girl haunted by Lamb's screams. Through her courage and intelligence, Starling became a full-fledged FBI agent, earning respect and recognition. At the celebration, she got a call from a stranger, but the voice on the other end was familiar.
Have the lambs stopped screaming? Don't bother with the trace. I won't be on long enough.
Where are you, Dr. Lecter?
I have no plans to call on you, Clarice. The world's more interesting with you in it.
So you take care now to extend me the same courtesy.
You know I can't make that promise.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Hannibal's old friend was the warden who had tormented him for years. He was Hannibal's next target. And that's where the movie ends. The Silence of the Lambs isn't just a dark thriller. It's a hymn to courage, redemption, and growth. Starling's childhood fear of lambs being slaughtered mirrors the hardships and struggles we face in life. But darkness is never the end of life, and fear is no reason to back down. True bravery isn't never being afraid. It's knowing the road is full of thorns yet still running forward with scars. Finally, I hope everyone watching this can face their inner trauma courageously, because only by confronting and mastering the darkness can the screaming lamb in your heart finally be silenced.